Alright, welcome back to yet another video. In this episode we're gonna go ahead and set up the Blendspace and stuff like that for the bow and arrow. So we're just gonna jump straight into it. Yeah. Let's see, last episode we set up the actual item and the item type so that we can actually we have the ranged weapon as a separate weapon. So when we right click this one, we don't want to go into the block animation, we're gonna want to go into the aiming animation. So that's what we're gonna set up now, aiming and the aiming blend space. So if we go into the, let's see, because we have these this blend space and we have a block idle, so that's block details. Okay, I see. So blocking details, weapon details. Let's do another one, because the range details is obviously gonna be different. So let's do another blueprint structure called s_aim details, which is only gonna be used by weapons that are actually aiming. So we're gonna do aim walk speed, we're gonna do, which is gonna be a float, we're gonna do aim blend space, which is gonna be a blend space. There we go. And we're gonna do a, that's actually not needed. Maybe it is, we'll see. We'll start with this, and I'll just add stuff as we go along because I'm not sure exactly what we're gonna need. So basically, somewhere here we should have a right click, right mouse. So the right mouse button is blocking, but we are gonna get the stance, get weapon stance, and we are gonna switch. So if we are in any of these, so these are weapons that can block, but this is a ranged weapon, so we're gonna do something else. And the same here, or actually we can just keep it like that. So let's do another graph. We have a combat graph. We have a combat graph, but I'm just gonna do a ranged graph as well, just to keep it clean. I like to have lots of graphs. And so yeah, custom event. How do we do this? Do we do a blend? Do we do the bool? I think we're just gonna do like this. Client, start aim, custom event, server, start aim, and we're just gonna control this with a boolean called isAiming. And if we, so alright, I just had to pause a little bit for some work stuff. anyway, so let's start by doing this. So we're gonna control this with a boolean if we're aiming or not, and since we're only gonna do it we're gonna set it on the client and on the server. This is gonna need to be replicated. Actually, let's not do that. It's unnecessary because then we have to check for it every time. Let's just do server start aim, and its aiming is basically it's gonna be rep notify instead. So it's better because then we don't have to check all the time. So if this is gonna have to be run on server, and as we know, rep notify creates a function that we can use inside, and we are gonna get the aiming blueprint. And so when we set the aiming, we need to set it on the animation blueprint as well. So go to your animation blueprint and create a variable here called isAiming, and set isAiming. So basically we set the isAiming of the player to the isAiming of the animation blueprint so that they are always the same. So that means that should be fine. So if we go into our right mouse button back again, where is this? It's in the comments. Actually, I don't really like this. I'm just going to do another function called input graph. Because this is an input thing, it's not a comment thing. The functions themselves can be in the different graph, but the input graphs should contain all of the input. This is actually why you should use a player controller. If you use a player controller, you have all the inputs in the player controller. But yeah, this is fine as well. So far, I've not experienced any issues doing it this way. So if the right button is pressed and we are ranged, we're going to start aim. Or actually, it doesn't need to. It shouldn't be called start. It should be called set aim. And it's going to be true. And if we release, it's going to be false, just like with the block. So if we release, we might as well do both of them. It doesn't really matter. Perfect. Set the aim. And what do we need to do now? We need to go into our animation blueprint again. And if we go back to our animation graph, we have the default state machine, we have our idle run. So there are a couple of different ways to do this. I think we're just gonna do, let's do like this, state machine. So that's the default. This is going to be called aiming, and we're going to do blend pose by bool. And if we are aiming, so basically this, we have this variable that we are setting. If isAiming is true, we're going to do the aiming state machine, and if it's false, we're going to do the default state machine. So perfect. I'm gonna do, my roommate woke up, if you hear a lot of noise in the background. So from, let's see, there's no state here, so let's create a state. Let's call this aiming, and this should be a blend space here. So now we need to create a blend space. Not sure where I keep my blend spaces. Apparently not here. Animations. Yeah, here we go. Animations. Oh, actually, these are the shitty standard ones. Remove them. I could probably delete them. This is the one that I showed before. Here we go. And do a animation blend space for the player skeleton. Yep. And we're just gonna call this player aim blend space. And I just need to. This is the animation blueprint. It's not the blend space. So what are we supposed to do here? I'm just gonna check how this blend space looks. I'm just gonna copy this one, I think. So yeah, we don't have any backing there. Yeah, okay. Because this one is gonna be a little bit different, because we're gonna need to be able to strafe and walk backwards on this one as well. And as you can see, this one is just for leaning and things, but when we aim, we don't need to lean. So this is gonna be the strafing movement, which should also be used for other things. 1 second. So you can see that we have different parts here, and it's gonna be speed forward, and this is gonna be speed right. Oh, sorry, the other way around. Speed forward. And speed right. And we're gonna be adding the animations for the bow. So we have the back, it's gonna be down. The forward is gonna be up. The right on the left is gonna be to the left, and the right is gonna be to the right. And let's also make sure that these are not. Yeah, perfect. And I'm not sure why I put it here, because we have these animation up here, so I'm just gonna move it here. Clear, and create a new folder called ranged or bow. So there, and we're also gonna get all of the bow animations, and we're gonna move them there actually, so we have everything in the same place. Perfect. And we need the idle in the middle. Is it not looping? These may be shitty animations. this one. These seeds are actually looping. Yeah, they're looping. Okay. Let's see how that works. I have other ideas otherwise, but let's start with that. So if we go back in here to the aiming, we can set the aim blend space. And we should be able, I'm not entirely sure, we might need to change this variable, but we should be able to use this one for the rotation. So let's see. Set the rotation. The rotation is basically just the velocity. Calculate the direction between velocity and get actor rotation. I think that should work. So let's see if that works. Okay, yeah, this is what I was afraid of. Because it's, yeah. Bum, 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 bum. I think maybe we can force the root lock. Let's see. I'm just gonna see if we can do that. Okay, yeah. So we can just force the root lock on them all, and that should be fine. Okay, yeah, obviously there are some stuff that I forgot. So we do not want to rotate in the direction. I'm not entirely sure why he's not idling. We'll fix that. But also, when we set the aim, we want to get the let's see. We have this set orange rotation to movement. It's gonna be false, or actually, if is aiming is true, we're gonna set it to false. If is aiming is false, we're gonna set it back to true. And there is another one as well, but let's start with that and see where that gets us. Okay, yeah, so that's fine. You see that we are no longer orienting towards, we are strafing. We just need to set up and the speed. So we need to set up the speed variables, and we also need to set up the, so yeah, there are some things that needs to be changed, but you can see that it's actually working at least. So that's good. So that part is working. Next part is yeah, so we should also not be able to do this. So we want to turn with, we want to rotate with the mouse basically. So I'm not sure which setting that is. Orient rotation to movement. It is. I'm not sure. I don't remember what it's called. Control. Let's see. Yaw. Okay, yeah. I think it's this. Get player controller. Use control. Set use control rotation yaw. I think this is it. Yeah, perfect. So now we are actually, as you can see, we are no longer, the camera is no longer like following, the camera is rotating. So if we release, we can move freely, but if we aim, the camera is rotating. Okay, perfect. Now we also wanna since this is already a rep notify, we don't need to use the function that we already have. We can just set movement, set max walk speed, and so I'm just gonna hard code this for now, these variables, but let's do 250, and if we release, we're gonna go back to run speed. Actually, let's do walk speed. All right. And yeah, we also need to pause the go back to right mouse button. In the input graph, we have a function for rotation, don't we? Set custom camera zoom. So default camera rotation is looping. And it's this one. So yeah. So in our input graph, when we stop aiming, we want to set the default camera rotation. But when we start aiming, we want to pause timer by function name. and the function name is gonna be the default camera rotation, so that we aren't doing the extra camera rotation when we are aiming. Good. Now we aren't, and we can aim by ourselves. So that's good. So obviously I set up the Blendspace weirdly, so let me pause and fix that for 1 second. Alright, so we're gonna change it a little bit since I thought the wrong way. This is how I previously set up a strafing mechanic, but this is unnecessary in this part. We're gonna change it. So we're gonna switch these to 2, I believe. 2 is fine. It can actually be 1 as well. Let's do 2, just because. And this should be, depends. Oh, sorry. Depends on how many animations you got. I only got 4, so I'm gonna do it this way. So the idle. Let's see, where's the idle? The idle should be in the bottom. And walk forward should be in the middle. Walk backwards. You should have 2 walk backwards on the outsides, so there and there. And you should have walk left and walk right. So the Blendspace is gonna go from here to here and from here to here. So that should work, I think. It's almost working. It's not really working. Backwards is working. Forward is not. Okay, so, and also that's working. 1 second. Alright, I figured it out. It's because I am super slow in the morning, and I already said that I fixed it, but I didn't. So this is the aim Blendspace. This is how it should look. We have direction and we have speed. So not the way I first set it up. This is basically the same as rotation, but there were plenty of errors here that I didn't account for. But basically the first one is it should go from -180 to 180. So we get a full 360. That's why both the edges are backwards. The middle is forward, and then we have right and left. And if the speed is 0, it's just the idle. And you can see that the rotation here is weird. It's because the idle animation is rotated slightly. So let's go into the root and rotate in 90 degrees and just keyframe that. I hope that was the right direction. I'm not sure. Yeah, so now that's better. So now we don't have to rotate. The aim Blendspace itself is good. There was another thing in the I was using the rotation variable here. It works. I made the right choice. It's calculated correctly, but I didn't account for the fact that we were only setting it if our speed was above 300, because below 300 we don't want to lean, because that's just gonna look super weird if we lean when we slightly walk. So that made the rotation variable being 0 because when we were in the aim Blendspace. So we need to create another variable. It's calculated in exactly the same way as the rotation with the direction, but it's always set, so it's separate. So now we use the direction instead, and that gives us this aim Blendspace right here. So delete the rotation and use the direction. So that's it. 30 minutes. Took a lot longer than expected. But here we go. So we have the Blendspace set up. we can now aim. So we need to add a reticle and we need to add the attack basically. And yeah, maybe we shouldn't snap. Yeah, I'll fix that. So yeah, and we also need to set up the ADS probably. So the camera is gonna zoom in a little bit. But for now, I think this is good. What we should do is we should make it follow the same rules as the rest of the game. So in here, expose the blend space as a pin, promote the variable, set the blend space to aim blend space so that we can change it at runtime, because bow aren't gonna have the same blend animation as a rifle, for instance. So and we are gonna, in our player, when we do the 0 set aim, we are gonna get anim input reference, and we are also gonna set aim blend space to get ranged details. So in the weapon details we need to add these we made before. We need to add this what did I call aim details, sorry. Aim details. Perfect. Need to compile pretty much everything. So now we have the aim details. We can break the aim details here, and we have the blend space. So now we need to set it up in the bow itself as well. So in the details, we now have block details, aim details we now have as well, and we're gonna do, not sure, player aim blend space. Rename it to bow. Perfect. And that should still work. There was some issue. 1 second. Alright, there's one weird issue. I'm not entirely sure, but basically if we equip the bow and don't, let's see, as you can see, if I haven't done the blocking or anything before, I get this weird lag issue, but it works the second time. So I'm not really sure why that is. I think it's probably because I'm not sure. Is it because we haven't set up like, well, we can probably do like this for now. And it should be fine. Let's see. Yeah, so that works. So yeah, that's it for this video. I can It's valid node if you get an error like that. So yeah, that's it for this video. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions. Perfect timing. And yeah, like and subscribe if you're new to the channel. See you in the next one. Bye.